This meeting is being live streamed. Got it. Oops. What the hell? Well, this meeting is being live streamed. Got it. Oops. Hi, folks. It's Patty. I'm just posting a few announcements to various horrendous social media. And I do appreciate the ability of social media to connect us all. If it just wasn't the fact that they were ruled by or owned by evil entities. So, sharing my live stream links, I think. I hope you're all doing well today. This was my first week back at work. Oh my goodness. Oh, and then when I get on Facebook, I see all of these posts about these poor dogs that need to be adopted. And I just want to spend all of my time like letting everybody know. And I have to like say, okay, I got to focus on the live stream because dogs need to be adopted, that's for sure. But humanity needs to find a pure way to health that is A, not expensive, B, will actually truly heal them in the deepest and purest way possible. So, that's kind of the message I'm sharing here. So let me get to my YouTube link. Let me do that. I think I am, let me double check to make sure I'm streaming on the One Great Work Network. Testing 1, 2, 3. It looks like my audio's going, but I don't know. It doesn't appear that I'm on the One Great Work Network yet, but I think I'll be there pretty soon because my producer did check in with me. Okay. Look who's here. We've got Rocky, we've got Jennifer. Hello. Beautiful individuals. I hope you're both doing well. I love the hearts. Purple, and Tony's here. Hello, Tony. Purple hearts are my favorite, and it has nothing to do with war. It's just that I like hearts and I like the color purple. I'm wearing a red shirt today because I just am. I don't know. It was a Zoom meeting day at work, so I didn't really get all fancy for anything. And so I like Zoom meetings, and I used to hate this as a professor when I taught remotely during the pandemic. And remind me all to tell you something about the pandemic that happened this week. But anyway, during the pandemic, I taught remotely, and I would hate it when my students had their cameras off because I was like, I want to see your faces. I want to connect with you all. But when I go to these work meetings, I turn my camera off because I just don't want, I feel like, okay, this is my space. I mean, do you really want to see my dogs coming up and kissing me for 10 minutes straight? But anyway, I was at work this week and we had this kind of welcome back batch where faculty were sitting at our various tables for what discipline we teach. And students that were just going around and getting free stuff and, all of, how it's like a festival, carnival, I don't know. And I started talking to my coworker and I said the word plandemic, and then I had to bite my tongue because I'm like, I work with people that, think Fauci is a good person, right? And they think that getting injected is, not only a good thing, but they think everybody should be injected. I mean, I was at a faculty meeting where it was stated that can't we just mandate everybody getting this injection? And I don't know, the freedom aspect of this all, the health freedom, that is something I'm incredibly passionate about because as a detox specialist, I've worked with so many individuals that have gotten incredibly ill shortly after getting injected. And I have gotten ill after getting injected. And I've seen my animals getting ill after getting injected, which is why we are a no injection family, my little fur children and I. All right, so I see some questions coming in. I did get one question messaged to me, so we will get to that one too, but let's see who's here. Rocky writes, I've given a plan to work through neurological issues and hormonal things. It's all raw, no fat till 4, and a tiny bit of fat like avocado, then cooked veggie and maybe potato with a salad. Do you think this is good enough to help? I've been vegan for a long time, and this includes oil and other junk. My symptoms are not MS or something that can be debilitating, but I'm 40 and I want to get past it. It's been really difficult to overcome. Well, I think, the raw till 4 is beneficial for many people. And when you're raw, focus on those water-rich foods. I think that's, something that is important because it hydrates us. The water coming in from the fruits and vegetables is a structured water. And because it has dissolved within it many electrolytes, very important mineral electrolytes, vitamins, phytonutrients. Sorry, the quinoa I'm making for my dogs is going off. They get quinoa from the Instant Pot. Anywho, I think, that structured water makes those nutrients more easily assimilated into the cells after they've been delivered throughout the body. So I think that's, good to do, to focus on those water-rich foods during the day. Now, in the evening, you said you're doing a little bit of fat avocado and some cooked veggies, maybe a potato with a salad. I think that looks good too. With the neurological issues, though, I really like the fruits are so important. I think for almost all, diseases, which are collections of symptoms that doctors have come up with, or that the AMA has come up with, I think that for neurological symptoms specifically, what you need to do is you need to get that vital electricity into the neurons. So the neurons need several things to function properly. They need the minerals like sodium and potassium are like the two most abundant that are required for electrical signaling of neurons. And then they need an energy source, because moving those electrolytes, the sodium and the potassium, in and out, which is basically what an electrical signal is. It's just these ions flipping around, going down these long extensions of neurons called axons. They need energy, and the energy is coming from the simple sugars, the glucose, the fructose. For those of you that have taken the cell biology with Dr. Morse and I, we talk about how fructose is like the optimal of optimal simple sugars. In fact, Dr. Morse has been talking about the studies that find that glucose is converted into fructose in the brain, and the brain is the organ with the highest number of neurons. So, but glucose will work too. So both of these, and by the way, in the brain is the only organ that does not require insulin for glucose to come in. No organ requires insulin for fructose, but for glucose, most organs, most cells need insulin to open the door to the cell so that the glucose can come in. But the brain doesn't need insulin for anything. It doesn't need insulin for fructose or glucose. So we need to feed the brain, which is rich in neurons, with the high vibration simple sugars that you get from fruits and the mineral electrolytes. So this is another reason why people that say, oh, if you eat so much fruit, that's too much sugar. Sugar is the fruit isolated from the minerals and the vitamins and all of that. Sugar is just highly processed sugar by itself. It's like gasoline with nothing else that you're going to use the gasoline to do, right? I don't know if that's a good analogy, because I don't really know gasoline analogies very well. I don't know cars. I'm not an electrician. But anywho, the glucose and the fructose need other things to be adequately processed, and the fruit gives you all of that. So really focus on the fruit during the day, and get in some greens too. I think greens are a good source of minerals too, which help to fuel, but if you're dealing with a severe disease, sometimes just the fruit, like if you're dealing with a neurological issue, I would say go on a grape fast, right? In the evening, I think your evening meal is fine, but stay away from the oil. The only oil that I think is okay is maybe like some flaxseed oil, but all other oils I would stay away from. And just a little bit of flaxseed oil. I know Dr. Goldner recommends that, like in her green smoothies. So I think if you're going to make like a salad dressing, you can use a little bit of flaxseed oil, or just, how I made today. I had a huge salad. I like to make the really big salads with bowls that are like the size of my, computer screen. And I just basically take an avocado, scoop it out. I squeeze some lime juice on there and I massage it into my greens. It's the easiest thing ever. Nothing fancy. I don't have to get the blender out. It's just, that's what I do. And then I add a bunch of stuff to my salads, some chopped celery, whatever I have, whatever veggies I have. I even add some fruit to my salad, and I know food combination, but sometimes I do that if I want a little sweetness. So I'm a big fan of salads. I think salads are good. And I think eating sometimes, because I know I'm a big proponent of juicing and smoothies, but sometimes eating and chewing the food is really good for the body, to chew it up, to grind it up. There's something about doing those natural practices that I think, are beneficial. All right. So yeah, but focus on like get some grapes in, get some high water rich fruits in the morning for sure to help your neurons heal best. Christina is writing, I just finished level 1 with Dr. Morse. I'm wanting to go deeper in my understanding. I saw that you have some courses on Thinkific. That is correct. Continue. Oh, I'm not able to do the A&P course through Dr. Morse. I just want to know more education. Which of your biology courses would you recommend? Well, the Thinkific courses, which you can get through my website, and maybe I'll just quickly put the link to that in the chat box for anybody that's interested in them. They're basically the same courses that you get through the school. I just needed a place to put them when Dr. Morse and I were first developing this before, the school's website was up and coming, because I wanted everybody to have, where is it? I wanted everybody to have access to the recordings. But now since the school is, going on, and Dr. Morse has a home for all of these classes, I don't really advertise these courses so much. But if you're just looking for the education, let's see if I can find the link. I don't even know where it is. Here it is. If you're just looking for that education, I would recommend, and I can pull up the courses really quick for those of you that are interested in them. I'll share my screen really quick. Let's see if I can share my screen and do this so that all of the media sources that I'm on right now can see my screen. Okay. Where do I want this to go? I guess I'll go. What's screen 2? Screen 2. Okay, I'll do this. Where am I? Okay. It looks like I'm on, I don't know who can see what. The heck is going on here? What in the Sam Hill? Hold up. Here it is. Okay, I found it. My bad. Let me just briefly make sure everybody can see my screen because I have no idea what's going on here. Wrong one. Okay. Where did YouTube go? Let me put YouTube over here. Okay, so this is, I think everybody can see everything. This is this is my website for the science courses that I taught with Dr. Morse, but also some other older science courses that are more allopathically oriented. Not from my current college, but from, when I taught at my previous college, actually 2 colleges ago. And I had these old science courses, and I thought, I'd offer them to the general public for people that just want to learn anatomy and physiology from an A&P professor. But the courses that are entitled naturopathic are the ones I teach with Dr. Morse. So if it says allopathic, Dr. Morse is not involved, and you're not getting his insight, his wisdom, and he does add a lot to the class. So I would recommend, if you want to go with the advanced prerequisite bundle, this is going to be the entire first, all of the introductory material to all of the future A&P material that Dr. Morse and I will be delivering, including the live course that should be the course that we're just wrapping up. We have 2 more classes that I need to squeeze in somehow because I had to cancel 2 of them because of my dog that passed away. But that should be going live relatively soon. And Dr. Morse should be talking this weekend to discuss when those last 2 classes are going to be delivering, but this would be a good one to take. This blood and heart course is part of the next course that Dr. Morse and I are wrapping up. So if you want a little preview of that, but I would say for sure, this is a bundle that includes basically all of this. It includes the cell biology. It includes the intro to A&P, where you get a lot of the terminology of anatomy and physiology. So you learn anatomical terms, you learn directional terms, how the body is organized, homeostasis. You get into some histology, which are tissues, cells and 2 major fluids. We talk about that. And then there's the electrical chemistry, which I do get into some of the esoteric, things that you wouldn't talk about in a traditional, brick and mortar, allopathically oriented college course. So, I get into biological transmutations in electrical chemistry. Nobody talks about that in normal chemistry courses. And then the cell biology course is pretty good. I think in this cell biology course, I also get into cell theory. I talk a little bit about the theory of viruses. And yes, I'm going to say theory. Do viruses exist? What are they? We get into exosomes. And so, so that's kind of cool. And then you're getting into the allopathic stuff. So I would just stay away from that. Unless you're interested in, becoming somebody that likes to push allopathy, but any of these would be good. But this is what's going to be the prerequisite to future courses. But I would take it through Dr. Morse's website so that you get credit for becoming a naturopath, right? Because if you're going into the doctoral program, it's better to take it through his website. This is just a kind of a backup. And I left it here. I was going to take it down, but I thought there might be people that just want to learn this that aren't really interested in becoming a traditional naturopathic doctor, which is, what people will be working for through the School of Natural Healing. Anywho, let's get back to, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, I think. Oh, look, I'm back. Let me double check to make sure I'm on the One Great Work Network, because I don't know where everything went to. Yeah, I should be good on the One Great Work Network. Okay. So before I read more of the questions in the chat box, I do want to pull up a question that was emailed to me, if I can find it. Where was it? Let's put this back over here. So there was a question that was messaged to me, which is always an option. If you can't make these live streams, feel free to contact me through email or through, you can message me. in Facebook. I will tell you this weekend this whole week since I was back at work and had a lot of meetings, I didn't really check my social media that well. Okay, so the question is, I work night shift. I take 5 milligrams of melatonin when I get home to help with sleep. Can the body process man-made supplements or vitamins? Are there any alternatives to melatonin that you would recommend? Gosh, it helps if the lid's taken off. Well, one thing Dr. Morse says about giving the body substances that we have organs that produce is that it weakens those organs. So like melatonin is produced by our pineal gland. And so the way that works is when the light intensity that hits our eyes goes down so that when it naturally gets darker outside, there's a signal that's created that tells the pineal gland, because it's getting darker outside, to produce more melatonin, and that naturally allows us to feel tired. And things can interrupt that. Like if you are on electronic devices and you're getting, a lot of artificial light hitting your eyes, that's going to diminish that signal to the pineal gland to produce more melatonin. So I would recommend doing things first, like maybe turning off electronics before you go to bed, and try to kind of create an environment that will allow you to just fall asleep naturally. That's the best thing to do. Like personally, what I do every single night, and it could be because I'm a Taurus, I don't know. I really like comfortable things and nice things. So I take a Epsom salt bath every single night. I have a lot of muscle damage to my right shoulder and the right side of my neck, so that helps those muscles relax. And it just, I sit there, I have a candle, it's kind of dark, but it calms me down. And there's a little candle over to the side, and sometimes I play some nice relaxing music, but I just kind of lay there. And then after the Epsom salt bath, my dogs already know the drill. So when they hear me turn on the bath water, they jump in bed, they get in their little spots. And then after the bath, I go right to bed. Well, I put some pajamas on, and then I go to bed and I cuddle with my puppies. So trying to find find a routine, a nightly routine that prepares your body for sleep. Since you work night shift, though, I can understand, because when you probably come home, it's still daylight. So I would get some really dark, this is a pretty dark curtain that I have over here. So get that into your room so you can block as much of the natural sunlight so that it's not coming to your room, so you can create a dark environment. So really dark, curtains will help with that. A next option is that you might want to consider a pineal glandular. So I think you can get pineal glandulars if you work with detoxification specialists. If you work with me, if I can, just briefly talk to you for a little bit, or you can send me some of your health information. Because glandulars, you can get them you can probably find them on Amazon, but I would not trust those. I would get them from a reputable source, because reputable sources will ensure that the glandulars are coming from, places that are not, because the pineal gland, first and foremost, is part of the brain, right? And so whenever you're taking a gland from a brain part, you do, and, as an ethical vegan, you might not want to do that. I don't know if you're an ethical vegan. Some people don't like to do glandulars because they do come from animals, and animals are our friends, and we shouldn't be taking their body parts, right? But sometimes I recommend the glandulars. The way I look at it, until we live in a society where, animal products are not an option, not that I think the law should be involved, I don't, but people have raised their moral level to the fact that they're not going to choose animal products. As long as animal products are still being chosen to be eaten, things like cow brains will still be, probably just thrown out. But in places like New Zealand, where the cows are very well treated, and when they do slaughter the cow, they take some of the organs and the glands and they convert that into a glandular. And in New Zealand, you're getting a pretty good source of that because, again, the animals are not eating any foods that are bad. They're grazing all day. So it's kind of the best of a bad situation. But a pineal glandular might be something you might want to consider. I like Professional Formulas. That's, I think, the vendor that Dr. Morse uses as well. But you do need to have somebody that has been, does have some kind of credentials, like a naturopathic doctor that can help you get that in a source. And, like I write that up as protocols for clients if I think that they would benefit from that. I do have several clients that I work with that take adrenal glandulars. That's a very common glandular that I might recommend because people have really weak adrenals, With glandulars, though, I always recommend that you don't take them long term. So use it to kind of get you through this transition period. Like if you're trying to get off the melatonin and you just want to start falling asleep more naturally, use the pineal glandular for like maybe a month. And then hopefully by the end of that month, you have strengthened your pineal gland to the point that now you don't need it, right? You don't need that. Gary, who wrote that question, did have a second question, but I want to come back to the chat box. I'll kind of go back and forth between the questions that were messaged to me and what's in the chat box. Okay. Joshua, well, thank you for being a big fan. I appreciate you being here. Christina writes, I'm not able, I think I already mentioned Christina's question. All right. Sorry about that. Enviro Earth, what's the topic of this? This is a Q&A session. So I am a naturopath and detoxification specialist, and I will just answer questions that you might have about health. Let's see. So if you have any health related questions, and I will say, don't ask me what medication to take because I don't do pharmaceuticals. I basically recommend herbs, dietary changes. Gosh, my hair is a mess. Those kind of things. All right, Christina's here. Hi, Christina. And Christina, I do want to talk to you. This weekend's bad too. So maybe next weekend, hopefully we can connect. It's been a crazy week though, with me getting back to work. Next question, Shalom. Thank you for teaching this, Patty. Well, thank you. Shalom. Shalom, my good friend. I remember when I was in grade school, we sang this song. I'm not going to sing it, but it was like, Shalom, my good friend. I guess I am singing it. Shalom, my good friend. Shalom, shalom. Till we meet again, Shalom, shalom. That was something I learned in grade school. Anywho, I like that. Shalom. I like that. It's a beautiful way to interact. Since there aren't any more questions in the chat box, I will come back to Gary's second question. While working through Michael Tsarion's Origins and Oracles series, the following quote he cited stood out. We now know through the work of Fritz Popp that DNA not only absorbs light, but also emits light. DNA also appears to be the bridge between our physical and etheric bodies. Modern science now realizes that our DNA directly reflects our consciousness, making it possible for us to willfully change our DNA. Stephen Honor, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that last name, but Stephen is the one who was quoted as saying that, which is something he came across through Michael Tsarion's work. Would this tie in, this is Gary's question, would this tie in activating our chakras? What may one do to become more activated? What may one do to become a more activated brain? Wait, let me reread that. What may one do to become a more activated, maybe you meant to say being? Well, I find that fascinating. I've heard those things about DNA first and foremost, that, I've heard people compare DNA to being an antenna. And this is part of kind of the esoteric knowledge we kind of dive into in the science courses that, are being hosted on Dr. Morse's website, the Science of Natural Healing. And so, yeah, we kind of get into these esoteric topics like, what is DNA? And this is a good kind of thing to talk about because, the gene theory and the germ theory, those two theories have basically taken over allopathic medicine, or maybe allopathic medicine uses those two theories to, promote their usage of pharmaceuticals and, various types of treatments. So, that's another thing. It's so interesting that we're talking about this because, again, I was at work this week and talking to a coworker during this carnival, and somebody brought up, that they thought that somebody's belief systems, like what religion they belong to, that needs to be separate from science. And I'm in my head thinking, God is in everything. You can't separate the creator of all from the creation. So, as an anatomist, as somebody that teaches anatomy and physiology, I just, I'm so amazed by life. I think life is just kind of something that I respect, something that I'm just in awe of. And I do get a little depressed sometimes teaching in the allopathic system because everything is set up so that we're treating a living being as a machine. And I need to get up just for a second because my little angel is in the back and she wants to come in. Can you hear her? I'll be right back. 1 second. Oh, baby Francis is already inside. Okay. Sorry about that. I am back now. But anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, life. Life and the study of life. And so, that's kind of a core concept of, do you want to kiss me, little girl? Come on. You want to give me some kisses? Nevada? Well, we're not going to bed yet, sweetheart. But yeah, the germ theory and the gene theory, they've just really put a blanket over any open discussion of anything else that could be causative to ill health. And I think the DNA is another one of those things that, people back in like the 1920s, 30s, 40s, when, Watson and Crick were analyzing and coming up with the structure of DNA. And I think there was, a couple of women scientists involved in there that didn't get enough credit as much as they should. Not that I'm a feminist by any means, but, sometimes people come up with things, but at the same time, like DNA, so we know its structure, but what is it really? What is it really? And I think, there's something to be said that it perhaps does have something more to it. So as he was stating, it, can absorb light, it can emit light. We are beings of light. Perhaps the DNA is kind of the source of that. Comparing it to an antenna, so it's a receptor. But even in, if we look at traditional cell theory, for the longest time, like when I was in grad school, there's this idea that everything is genetically controlled. So, genes are expressed, they produce a protein. If this protein works correctly, then you don't have a genetic disorder. But if the protein is abnormal, then you do have a genetic disorder, But what causes a protein to start being expressed from a gene? Well, something has to turn that gene on. And somebody like Bruce Lipton talks about, in his book called The Biology of Belief, environmental factors. So he really gets into epigenetics. So yeah, I think that, let me come back to your question because my email went away. So your question was about, does this tie into activating our chakras? Well, I really wish I could comment on the chakras. I wish I had more of a esoteric knowledge of, those systems. I would really, if you're into Michael Tsarion, which I think everything Michael Tsarion puts out is amazing. I love his works. Like Atlantis, that was amazing. You can get all of that for free, by the way. You can watch all of his things, but you can pay him too, give him some props. Origins and Oracles, that's a great series. I haven't watched all of it though. But Mark Passio does get into that a little bit too. He's got a couple of presentations about the Kabbalah, and he talks about the 10 Sephiro. What's that called? That like the sacred image of like a circle and 3 circles. It's, I don't know. And that's why I learned like Mark Passio and Michael Tsarion. But I think those chakras, there's something to it with how humans are meant to live. So when you understand these more ancient and esoteric religious types of very holy teachings, it really does bring something forth to activating things within your body. And so whether that is connected to the DNA, possibly. One thing that I've talked about, like even in the heart class that I gave, that's part of the next course coming out, I talk about the heart being an energy center. It is the 4th chakra. It is the organ of the 4th chakra. And it spins the blood. We talk about the heart pumping the blood. Can something the size of your fist pump blood through thousands and thousands of miles of blood vessels? It doesn't seem very logical. But the way that the anatomy of the heart is structured, when the blood enters the lower ventricles and the blood is spinned and then it travels outward. And if you look inside of the ventricles, they have these little pockets called, or these grooves and pockets. They're called trabeculae carnae. And I think it was in one of Tom Cowan's books that I read that each little groove is connected to a place in the body where when the blood fills that groove, that's where the blood will be sent. It's so amazing when you get into these various theories of how these organs work. It kind of brought back my passion for the human body, because when you get into this, blinders of just the human body as a machine and body parts are replaceable and we can inject things into the body and see what happens. We can give people pills, see what happens. I don't like looking at the body like a car going into the shop to be fixed. The human body is much more sacred than that. And, there's so much that God or our, the greater being, whatever you want to call that creator essence that's in all of life, that which brings life forth. It's beautiful how it's all constructed. Like iridology, you can see a map of the human body in the iris, but everything is reflective of that. The face, there's facial reading you can do, like this is the area of the liver. Under the eyes, you have the kidneys, and closer to the center, the adrenal glands. The lungs are right here, the intestines. Every part of your face represents an organ. Parts of your eye represent an organ. In Chinese medicine, they look at the ear. So I don't know how much that ties in with the chakras and the DNA. There could be possibly, but I'm not really the best person to comment on that because I wish I knew more. All right. Let's see, what else do we have here? Joshua writes, as a C5-6 quadriplegic, been progressively working on healing for 13 years. Oh, is this Joshua that Joshua, are you the one that's in the A&P class? don't remember last names very well. But anyway, that might be you, Joshua, but you've been working on healing for 13 years, have metal and scar tissue. Do you think a long water fast would help for a quadriplegic? For quads, again, I really like the fruit. I think water fasting is powerful. Water fasting really is powerful. But with people that have neurological issues where, because, maybe the spinal cord was severed and certain neurons can't receive the signal to go outward. Well, there's esoteric theories with that too, right? But again, sometimes when you can't move your body because the nervous tissue is not working, the muscles, they're not getting that signal to contract, and then the muscles become, they start to atrophy. And so anything you can do to even imagine contracting a muscle, if you're C5, C6, I'm trying to see like what parts of your body might be impacted by that. Yeah, Joshua, I'm so glad you're here. But I would focus on the fruits, a grape, 40 days of grapes. I don't know if you've done any of that. I'm sure you've tried those things though. But the fruit would be my first plan of action for a quad, but water fasting, play around with it. Maybe work up to some longer fasts. You can try some like intermittent fasting at first and then work up to maybe a couple of days of fasting. But again, with water fasting, it is a very deep cleanse. And I just worry about those organs and tissues that aren't being stimulated by neural activity and whether or not they would become more depleted. So I can't say that I would know a lot about that, about using water fasting. And this would be a great question for Dr. Morse. I would talk to Dr. Morse about that. So I don't know if Dr. Morse, does he have something coming up, like a Zoom meeting? I don't know. He might have one. He and I don't have anything scheduled because I'm back working again. But if I do have a day off in the future, like I think we have a fall break in October. Maybe I'll see if Dr. Morris wants to do like a live Zoom in October during my fall break, because I really like connecting to everybody. And the tree of life. Thank you, Jennifer. I was looking for that word. Jennifer Davis came to the rescue. The tree of life. That is that image that I think is used in Kabbalah, which again, it's kind of like the seven sacraments. Who's a really awesome person to read about all of this is Carolyn Myss. She has a book that forever changed me when I was in medical school. This is back in the early 1990s or mid 1990s or late 90s. When was I in med school? I was in college in the early 1990s. I was in med school like 1995 onward. And, I was getting really depressed in medical school because it was just so mechanistic, so materialistic, that I started, looking for other things. That's how I found Dr. Furman and got into water fasting. But I came across a book called The Anatomy of the Spirit. I think a friend recommended it to me, and it was amazing. It was just that was the book that made me realize, okay, there's more to health than what I'm learning. There is much more to the human body. And Carolyn Myss gets into the seven chakras. She actually connects many of the esoteric religious books like, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And she looks at their sacred esoteric teachings. We're not talking about the exoteric, like, what people do. Like, okay, I go to church every Sunday, so whatever. Not that I oppose going to church. I think it's good to value, that spiritual side, but I'm more into the spirituality and how are these religious groups, because they were founded on something that was very powerful, which has led to their longevity. So that's why they're still here today, right? That's why Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, and many of the other religions that, her book does not touch upon, which are equally as important. But these religions have at their foundation esoteric teachings that are meant to elevate humanity, to elevate the human being to our inner powers, to who we really are. And unfortunately, the exoteric, what most people see when they do go to church every Sunday or go to the synagogue or wherever they're going to worship, they don't get into those esoteric teachings, right? Like I went to Catholic grade school from kindergarten to 8th grade. And we never talked about the esoteric teachings of Christianity. Well, I have some issues with Catholicism as a whole, like the Jesuits, kind of shady, right? And there's the whole Catholic priest thing, kind of shady, scary, very, very sad and sickening, the things that they would do to young boys and young girls. I think, it didn't matter. So yeah, there's a dark side to many of these religious organizations, but there is something that has been hidden, which is really why I liked Mark Passio, because he exposes a lot of the esoteric teachings. And I didn't want to, this is not my area of expertise. There are people that can talk about this in much more depth. And I don't even know why we started talking about this, honestly. I can't remember. I get off on tangents and then I forget where I'm going. All right. Any other questions for me since we're all together? One of the things I wanted to talk about with maybe the last 15 minutes we have left is that I have been thinking a lot about putting a group program together for people interested in going through detoxification. Oh, there is a question. So I'll go to the question first. Josh was asking on a grape protocol, glandulars, melons, figs, berries, waiting on a full grape season. I've done a long grape in the past, doing it again soon. Lateral peripheral nerve damage, atrophy of the triceps, normal bicep, no finger, partial wrist function. Okay. So yeah, I mean, that's why I like the fruit for that nerve regeneration. And I know Dr. Morse has helped people who have had damage to their spinal cord, and they've begun to pick back up certain functions. But, getting those neurons to fire, so you need glucose and you need minerals. Yes, water fasting will help you clean house, which may improve the signaling when you do start taking those foods in. So again, you can experiment with it, but I would seriously talk to Dr. Morse about doing a water fast. I would feel more comfortable with him answering that question because I really don't have a lot of experience in that arena, unfortunately. I personally have never worked with anybody that has had spinal cord damage. I know Dr. Morse has, which is why I would defer to his expertise there. But I do want to talk about one thing with regards to the nerves, and then I'll talk to what I was mentioning earlier. So I've got this group program that I've set up. I have not really launched it yet, but I'm going to be adding another component to it. It's going to be a 12-week long or a 3-month long kind of guided program where people can join me week by week. And yes, I get into, dietary coaching and talking about other things you can use in addition to the diet. So if you want to use herbs, some of those are mentioned, various modalities to help the body cleanse. But I really want to get into deeper issues with regards to the emotional and the mental bodies, because I feel at the heart of healing, there's many issues that people need to address. that are blocking their ability to heal. So somebody can do like a 40-day grape cleanse and still not get to the core of what's bothering them. They might have some improvements because when you're doing nothing but grapes, you're going to clean some stuff out. You're cleaning house, right? But are you getting to the core? And sometimes when you get to a certain level of what we call dis-ease, things get so deep and ingrained into the organ or tissue that getting it back to a working order, it takes a little bit more effort. And sometimes you need to heal things on those other bodies other than the physical body. So like, we do have the etheric, the astral, and the ontological levels that are part of our human being and who we are. And how can we address those other levels? So I'm going to be adding like components of shadow work to my weekly activities that I will have people do each and every week during their healing journey. And so not only will you be exploring various types of practices, like, various types of cleanses, doing some intermittent fasting, doing some juicing, doing some smoothies. I'll have a couple of different programs for the level you come in at. I wouldn't recommend somebody that's never done any cleansing to jump right into a 40-day grape cleanse, right? We work up to those things. We do kind of a transition phase. But in addition to that, when you pay for the program, and I haven't figured out the price yet, but I'm going to try to make it affordable. When you sign up for the program and you'll be meeting with me every week, there are things you're going to be doing on your own. And let me do so. I need to pee really quick. I'm sorry. I've been drinking water all day. I'll be right back. I don't urinate. I feel like I can't hold it any longer. Sorry, folks, I'm coming back. Sorry about that. Okay. I really had to go to the bathroom. Anywho, that'll teach me not going to the bathroom before I get started. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, the program. So I will meet with people each week, and each week there will be, knowledge shared in the form of activities to focus on, various cleanses depending on the level you feel comfortable cleansing with. So, would you be more comfortable doing a juice cleanse? Would you be more comfortable doing all grapes? Would you be more comfortable doing smoothies? Maybe just raw foods. But whatever you do, whatever level you do, you're going to have some healing. And you'll be meeting with me, and there will be like a private Facebook group for other people that are in the program where we can all interact. It'll be a community experience, cheerleading each other. But in addition to that, in addition to all of that, the modalities, the even the recipes, I've got juice recipes, I got a lot. I've been piling all of this together in a program. And it just felt like something was missing, which is why I haven't launched it yet. And I figured out the missing piece is going to be the shadow work. I really want people to face their shadow, because it is my firm belief that all illnesses, all experiences that humans endure in their lifetime are lessons And if we don't get to the core of what this experience is trying to teach us, our core exercises of okay, sorry about that, folks. This has been happening quite a bit with my Zoom. It just kind of flakes out for whatever reason. But I'm back now. But yeah, so it's going to have components of the shadow embedded in the program. So there will be like journal activities and things we can discuss during our weekly meeting each week. And I really feel that this can be a very transformational group for many people. You know, I want to add another level to a program because, you know, there's a lot of people out there offering cleansing programs. Like you can sign up for somebody's 10-day juice cleanse, 20-day juice cleanse, whatever. There's a lot of juice cleanses out there, right? And I think juicing is great. But really what it comes down to is getting in high nutritious, high electrically potent foods. And the fruits are the most potent. But, you know, vegetables are pretty good too, right? Especially the fruity vegetables like the cucumbers and the peppers and all of the things that have seeds. Those are technically all fruits. But yeah, so I don't know if anybody would be interested in anything like that, but I'm going to be working on that. That's a program I think many people would benefit from because we're looking at those deeper levels, right? So, and I guess I don't have any more questions coming in, but I wanted to just talk a little bit about that since that's something I'm working on. I'm also working on with Dr. Morse. We've got 2 more classes to the second Human A&P course that will be going live after these last 2 classes are recorded with the students that paid for live course access. So I told everybody in that group that I would email them as soon as Dr. Morris and I have connected. This has been a busy week and I've not been able to connect with him yet. But what I'm really super duper excited about are the books Dr. Morris and I are going to be working on together. Dr. Morris has done most of the work, so I'm not going to say that I'm a big part of this book, but I'm adding a little bit to it. But he's been really putting his heart and soul into these books. One's going to be on fruit and fructose and frugivores and how, you know, we are frugivores biologically. Oh, Jennifer has a amazing idea. Truly cleansing the mind and spirit. I would love to be part of that journey. Definitely something that is needed in the community. Thank you for commenting on that, Jennifer. I'd actually people to test run the program. And you can maybe donate whatever you want to. It does cost me money to keep the website going. So I don't know. I might have a, don't tell me that my system is blanking out again on me. But I don't know if what the price is going to be honest with you, but I'm refreshing my YouTube here. All right. I don't even know if I was on the One Great Work Network tonight. Ah. I didn't even realize my producer had reached out to me. I was apparently having issues with the Twitch, which impacts my ability to get on the One Great Work Network. Anyway, I'll just finish up a few things here on YouTube. Sorry, folks, that my Zoom keeps going out. Okay, I guess I'm on YouTube. Okay. Sorry, everybody, but I will be wrapping things up in just a second. But anyway, Jennifer, I might be offering this at a very like a donational price. If you want to get involved in something like that. I've got a few more things I need to add to this program, but I need to start somewhere, and I would love having people go through it so I can get some feedback, mostly like, what people enjoy, what I could improve. So that is always helpful. So thank you, Jennifer, for commenting on that. And then Charlene comments, simplify your life. I agree with that 100%. Barefoot walking, I do that actually quite a bit. A lot of times in the morning, I walk my dog in the morning, and then when I come back, my big dog, he's got so much energy, I usually throw the ball and I'll take my shoes off and walk barefoot in the grass. Actually, I have a man that works on my shoulder. I've had a lot of physical trauma done to my shoulder, and then I fell rock climbing back in 2015. And this guy who does body work on me, he's very spiritual, and he recommends exactly what you're saying, Charlene. He's been really kind of getting on my case in a very gentle and loving way, that I need to get out into nature, that I need to do a lot of things that I haven't done in a while. I used to live in the Pacific Northwest. And when I lived out there, like every day I was jogging in the mountains. Well, not really the mountains, but in a mountainous area behind my house. I loved it up there. And then I had some terrible things happen to me, and I just had to leave that area. I mean, it was heartbreaking. But part of like the shadow work that I want to do with everybody would also be benefiting me, because I've been doing a lot of shadow work as well to get to my core issues. So I've got healing, like my shoulder, I think is not physical. I think it feels physical. It's gotten worse in the last 4 years, mostly because I've been trying to understand the trauma that I was going through before that hit. And so I have a feeling like if I get through the shadow work, it will open this up, right? And then I've already mentioned the homeopath that I work that does the high potencies that deal with the emotional healings. Between those two things, I think that would be, part of what I want to incorporate into this program. Anyway, it's 7:04, so I'm going to stop. All right. Anyway, I'm going to go, everybody. My Zoom keeps reconnecting, so I'm going to stop. But thank you all for being here tonight, and I will see you all next week. Hopefully I can set up my internet